giving all praise, honor, and glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahudah, the creator of the heavens, sea, earth, and all that therein is. Hallelujah. I'd like to say shalom to all of you who have taken time out of your busy schedules to once again view another one of these videos. As you can see, I still have these videos posted, and I'm making another video because the challenge that I put forth, that if someone could refute what I put forth in my last videos dealing with the Passover parts 1 and 2, then I would remove all of these videos from YouTube. Obviously, that has not happened. Yahudah has not addressed any of the key points that I put forth, so therefore these videos are still here, and I will continue to leave that challenge on the table. And I look forward to someone coming to actually address some of these key points. Now, I am in the process of making the Time of Jacob's Trouble videos that I will be releasing between now and the summer. So I do want you to stay tuned for that. However, there is an issue that came to my attention with regard to one of Yahudah's students who has made a video, and I did have the opportunity to view the video, and he was basically parroting or regurgitating Yahudah's points with regard to the Passover. Now, I'm going to address this young man. I don't really know him. I don't have anything against him. I believe his name is YeremiYAH. And he came to my page a few times and left comments. And one of my students actually dealt with him. And I haven't seen him really post any comments on our page since then. He sent me a message one time asking me to call him. And I informed him that, you know, I didn't know him and I didn't have any issues with him. My issue was with his teacher, Yahudah. And that's the person that I'm dealing with exclusively because of the issues that I had with him with regard to the false information that he put out regarding our interactions. So I don't have any problem with this young man. Like I said, I don't know him, but he is parroting the things that Yahudah is saying. And because Yahudah has done such a miserable job of defending his position, and he refuses to answer any direct questions, I have to now address this young man, and hopefully he'll do a lot better than his teacher in terms of dealing with some of these things. And if he can answer these questions, then he can feel free to ask me any questions that he would like as well, and therefore we can have an open and honest dialogue. Because again, I don't have an axe to grind with him. We can deal specifically with the scriptures. So, having said that, I'm going to deal with some of the key points that he put forth in this video. And I have a 5-point question system that I'm going to ask him to respond to. And just like I presented regarding the Passover videos, the challenge still stands. Deal with what I'm going to present on the table specifically. Hopefully you won't go all off into different topics, but I'm going to lay these things out, and if you choose to respond to this video, then there are some key questions that are going to be raised that you need to deal with. So we're going to get started, and we're going to deal with some of these positions that he has put forth.
He shall surely thrust you out hence altogether. Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels of silver and jewels of gold, as y'all spoken of in chapter 3, right? It says, and y'all gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians. Moreover, Moses was very great in the land of Egypt, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people. And Moses said, thus saith Yah, about midnight, okay, let's say about midnight, I don't see that.
Well, wait a minute. So, just like his teacher, there's a clear word that's presented in the scriptures, and he's claiming he doesn't see it. But hopefully you can see it, right? It says, and Moses said, thus said Yahudah, about midnight will I go out in the midst of Egypt. So, once again, when they come across words that contradict them, they don't want to see it. So it's not that he can't see it, he doesn't want to see it. So, but we're going to hear that again.
Pharaoh's servant, and in the sight of the people. And Moses said, thus saith Yah, about midnight, okay, let's say about midnight, I don't see that. Okay, when it got dark, okay, Moses said, thus saith Yah.
So he just added that. It's telling you specifically that that's midnight. But this is at the just the tip of the iceberg, because he's going to do something even worse than this a little later on. But this is how we're getting this started, just showing how they take words that are clearly in front of them and they claim they don't see it. So we're going to go through some of these other key points that he stated. Let's go to the next one.
Whatever's in your heart, Yah fuels it in the evening.
Okay, so in this particular point, he's going to make a false distinction between even and evening. And I want you to realize something. The word even and evening are the same word. Now, when I had the debate with Yahudah back in 2011, I didn't really get a chance to really express that point. I touched on it a little bit, but I really couldn't get my point in because, as you should be aware, Yahudah was trying to overtalk me at every step. But there was some points in that audio that I did show him that even and evening are basically the same thing. Now, that was almost 5 years ago, and the Most High has opened up my understanding a lot further since then. But at the time, I didn't get a chance to show this point, but I'm going to show it now, and hopefully this young man will have the opportunity to address this, because his leader did not. But he's going to say something, and I'm going to show you that he's at odds with the scriptures. He's going to make, as I said, a false distinction between even and evening. Watch this.
Next unto his house, taken according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall you make your account for the land. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year, and ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. Just take it out from the flock. Alright, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. Okay, in the evening. Okay, not even, but in the evening.
Okay, so you see how he emphasized that, right? Well, okay, so let's take a look at something. Because when we go to Exodus, the 12th chapter, okay, so this is Exodus 12, and what he just got through reading was the 6th verse, and it says they should kill it in the evening. Now, when we look up evening, that's Ereb, 6153. And what does it say? Dusk, day, evening, tide, night. Now, the primary definition is dusk. And what Yahudah always does, as we pointed out, he tries to find the most nebulous term that he can to try to make it fit. But in this instance, you're going to see something very clear. Here, the word is evening. Right? So we're dealing with the 6th verse, and we see evening here. But the Hebrew word is Ereb. Now, what YeremiYAH just said was that it's evening, not even. We're going to hear him again.
Man, according to his eating, shall you make your account for the land. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year, and ye shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. Just take it out from the flock. Alright, and you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. Okay, in the evening. Okay, not even, but in the evening.
Okay, so he's making this distinction as if they're totally different words. Well, as I just showed you here, it's Arab, right? Now, he said it's evening, not even. Well, when we go over to the book of Deuteronomy, the 16th chapter, 6th verse, you're going to see something very interesting. Well, we'll start at the 5th verse. It says, Thou mayest not sacrifice the Passover within any of thy gates, which Yahudah thy Elohim giveth thee, but at the place which Yahudah thy Elohim shall choose to place his name in, there thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even. Now, he clearly just said, I played it for you twice. He said that it's evening, not even. But the scriptures clearly disagree with him because we see even here. And what's more, when we go to this word, guess what? It's Arab, 6153, the exact same word. So, just like his teacher, they're coming to this word even and evening, and they try to make a false distinction. To be honest, we could just put even and evening on the shelf for a second and just say Arab. Just say that the lamb should be killed at Arab, because that's clear, because there's no distinction between this word. But he wants to make it seem like they're totally different, and they're not. And another critical point I want you to realize here is that when we look at the word Arab, it's dusk, which is when the sun goes down. And if you don't believe that, let's read the rest of the 6th verse. It says, Thou shalt sacrifice the Passover at even, at the going down of the sun. That's even, dusk. Now, this is where it gets very critical, because these are the same individuals that say that the sun going down does not constitute the next day. They say, and I've heard this come out of Yahudah's mouth, that there's still about 55 minutes left of sunlight. And because they feel that the 24-hour cycle does not begin until that night. That's what they teach, right? So, here's the thing. When we look at the 6th verse, and we see that this means that when the sun went down, the Passover is starting when the sun goes down. Because according to them, and I'm using their logic here, the new day does not come in until night. And I want you to remember something. The Passover starts when they kill it. It does not start when they eat it. Because that's why this is called the Passover. We see that in the 5th verse. It's a Passover lamb. It's not called that by accident. It's called that because that's when the Passover starts. You kill it at dusk, and you're going to eat it after, because you have to roast it, which takes a few hours, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. But I want you to realize a critical point. They say that the Passover starts on the 15th day. But here we see that the Passover is actually starting on the 14th day. And even according to their definition of when a day starts, this is showing you clearly it was still the 14th because it's at sundown. It's not night yet. And they're killing the Passover. So that's when the Passover starts. It's still the 14th day. So I've already been vindicated. I've been telling you that the Passover is on the 14th day. And I'm using your own logic. Because you guys are saying that the Passover, it starts on the 15th day. But at the same time, when we read the scriptures, it's dusk when the Passover is sacrificed. And the Passover, by it being sacrificed, that's what initiates the Passover. Not just because they were eating it. But It's the 14th day, even by your own definition. It's not night yet. It's dusk. The sun is going down. There's still some daylight out. So that's a critical point that I want you to remember, because they are the same ones that say that the day does not start until night. That's what they say. But we see here clearly that it's the sundown. So that's your first question, YeremiYAH. I want you to deal with that. How do you explain that? You claim that they're two different words, evening and even, but when we look it up, it says areb, and the scriptures use them interchangeably. They use even and evening, talking about the same event, the Passover. And I showed you that. So that's your first question you got to deal with. Let's move on. Here's another point that you made. Right here, you were talking about the... You reiterated the fact that the 15th was at night. So we're going to see if this is what the scriptures are saying.
And they shall eat it, and they shall eat the flesh in that night. Okay? And that night, which is the 15th day, is when they should start eating the Passover.
So, wait a minute. Yes, we do eat it at night, but my question to you is, where does it say that it's the 15th? You still have not shown that. Because we can go through this and we can see that, yeah, you're right. We're supposed to eat it at night, and no one is disputing that. I don't have an argument with that at all. And they shall eat the flesh in that night, roasted with fire. I have no problem with that. None whatsoever. But what you have failed to show is that, how is it that the 14th at even, which I just showed, which means dusk, sundown, how is it that that equals the 15th day? But how is it that the night ushers in the 15th when the scriptures don't say that? But I want you to keep in mind what you're saying. You keep emphasizing this point that the night was the 15th. So I want you to remember that, because later on in this video, I have a little surprise for you. But just keep that in mind. Okay?
You over to the 15th day. They were to kill it on the 14th day and start and prepare it, start to cook it on the 14th day. And it didn't actually get done until the 15th day, till after Yah smote the Egyptians, the firstborn sons of the Egyptians. And they were to eat the flesh in that night.
Okay, so I want you to show us that, because that's not here. It does not say that it was after they were smitten, because remember, the people already went to go do this before this happened. That was the whole purpose of the Passover, because they had to go kill it, put the blood on the side posts and on the upper lintel. They had to do that in advance of the killing, and so that lamb just wasn't sitting there. They started roasting it. And then the other problems that he's going to have is that when we get to the point, because right here we're in the 22nd, and it's talking about how they're preparing the Passover, and that they couldn't go out until the morning. We're going to deal with that also. But then it says, for Yahudah will pass through to smite the Egyptians, and when he seeth the blood upon the lintel and the two side posts, Yahudah will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. So they would have already had to have this already set up. And as we see how this plays out, this was already done. The people were in the bed. That's why they had to rise up. So I know you guys have a problem with that, just like you have a problem with midnight. But when we look at this in the 31st verse, it says, and he called for Moses and Aaron and by night, and said, rise up and get you forth from among my people, both ye and the children of Israel, and go serve Yahudah as ye have said. So they had already eaten the Passover. That's the reason why we go down and it says they didn't have time to prepare any victuals. The Passover is a victual. They had already had the Passover meal. They were getting the dough together for the because of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That's why it says, and people took their dough before it was leavened. It wasn't baking. They would just had the dough sitting, and normally you put the leaven in later. So that's what was going on. They had already eaten the Passover. So if you're saying that they hadn't eaten it yet, that, somehow they were, the Egyptians were smitten before it was even eaten, then how do you explain when it says in the 39th verse that they baked 11 cakes of the dough which they brought forth out of Egypt, for it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and they could not tarry, neither had they prepared for themselves any victual. So they didn't prepare any food, because this is, I'm going to show, it was well into the night and they didn't have time at that point. But before that, they had already consumed the Passover. So I think you need to read this a little more thoroughly, brother, because this does not indicate at all that the Passover had not been completed yet. The Passover had already been eaten. The people were in the bed. That's why they had to rise up. That's why Pharaoh rose up, middle of the night. But I want you to come back and deal with that. So that's number 2. So let's look at the next thing you got to deal with. Well, let's make sure you're finished now. Let's see.
15th day, the 14th day of the month at even. That's how y'all puts it in his book. It's a whole lot easier for us to understand it that way.
Oh, okay. So once again, you keep emphasizing that, but I want you to remember, you keep saying that the 14th at even constitutes the 15th day. And as your teacher says, that's the trigger. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
Alright? And that's why y'all had it written like that.
Oh, okay.
The 14th day of the month at even is when Passover starts. Okay?
Okay, so let's take a look at another point that you made. And again, I'm not attacking you. I just want to address these points because, this ain't personal. This is just dealing specifically with the book. So if you respond to this, do the same.
So they had to eat the flesh of that night, roasted with fire, with unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Okay, because it's the same time. Feast of Unleavened Bread and Passover begin at the same time.
Okay, so you say the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread began at the same time. Okay, now, you got to address something. If you're going to make a statement like that, there are specific scriptures that you have to deal with. Namely, Numbers 33:3. Because you heard what he just said, that they started at the same time. Now, how is it possible that, because we know that the Feast of Unleavened Bread was on the 15th day. And then when we read Numbers 33:3, it says, and they departed from Ramses in the first month on the 15th day of the first month on the morrow after the Passover. So again, on the morrow. And do not do the same thing that your wicked leader did when he came across this word morrow. He couldn't deal with it. So he goes into this. He doesn't even deal with this primary definition, which tells you it's the morrow or tomorrow or the next day. No, he doesn't do that. He goes into this, skips over this once again, morrow, usually tomorrow, and then goes into hereafter and time to come. Total nonsense. So he does that. So don't you be like that. So like I said, I'm not too confident because I think that the apple does not fall too far from the tree, but I am going to go against my better judgment and give you the benefit of the doubt that you're not going to pull the same chicanerous trickery that your wicked leader did, and you're going to actually deal with these specific questions without resorting to those cop-out tactics. So hopefully you won't try to pull that, because if you do, I got something to deal with for that also. I got something for you for that. But we see clearly that if this was supposed to be the same day, then why is it saying on the morrow? And we know that they had the Passover on the 15th day. So you can't just gloss over stuff like this.
Okay. And the reason for Feast of Unleavened Bread is because when y'all smote all the firstborn of Egypt, we were rushed out. The bread didn't have time to rise. That's why it's called the Feast of Unleavened Bread. See, we didn't leave out the next day. You know, I mean, you know, the 15th day, they want to make it seem like all that took place on the 14th day, and then they had to wait till the 15th day, like when sunrise, when the sun rose is when we left. That's not the case.
Nobody's saying you had to wait. The people were already in the bed. They rose up in the middle of the night. And there was a whole lot of things unfolding during the time, between the time that they actually got everything together to leave. And by the time, I mean, you guys are acting like time stands still. This was a process. Everything was taking place. I broke this down in part 2 of my Passover is on the 14th, not the 15th video. So those of you who have not seen that video, go and look at it, because I break that down. This is very straightforward. But no one is suggesting that these people were waiting. As soon as the Most High dropped the firstborn man and beast, then that created an uproar throughout Egypt, and that's when things started happening. And then it took time for all of this to unfold. That's what happened. No one is saying that people were just waiting. No, there was a lot of things going on.
We left out on the 15th day, yeah, but we left out at night, like it states in Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1.
Let's deal with that. So, I'm glad he mentioned that. That's a very good reference. But this is where teaching comes in. I'm going to do for you, young man, what your teacher failed to do. I'm going to show you how you go precept upon precept and explain the scriptures. So you heard what he just cited, which is, I'm actually here already, Deuteronomy the 16th. I already have it up here. Okay, so Deuteronomy 16:1. And I'm going to show you guys something that you probably never saw. And I thank the Most High that he's given me the opportunity to show you this. Because I do understand, if you read this, absent of all the other precepts, you could easily take this to mean that they came out at night. But I'm going to show you how you read this precept upon precept. So, he cited this, so we're going to read it. Observe the month of Abib, and keep the Passover unto Yahudah thy Elohim in the month of Abib. Yahudah thy Elohim brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. Now, I want you to understand something. I'm going to give you 2 examples, and during those examples, you're going to be able to fully see how you interpret this. Now, the first example I'm going to give you is that when we go to Exodus 12, again, because you saw what the scripture said. It says that the Most High brought them out by night, right? We see that. Brought them out by night. Now, it also says in the 51st verse of Exodus 12 that they left Egypt the same day. So we're going to read that. It says, and it came to pass the self-same day. First of all, this self-same day is talking about the day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is a different day from the Passover, which once again, you can reference Numbers 33:3 on the morrow. Now, it says, it came to pass on the self-same day that Yahudah did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies. Now, they actually were still in Egypt. But the scriptures say that the Most High brought them out. So how does that work? Is there a contradiction? And the answer is absolutely not. Because I'm going to explain this to you, and then you're going to be able to understand it. Most High willing. Now, to prove that they were not out of Egypt yet, here's a map. This is the land of Goshen, and this is Egypt. They went from Ramesses to Succoth. Okay, and how do we prove that? We go to the 37th verse in Exodus chapter 12, and it tells you, and the children of Israel journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot, that were men besides children. So, we can see clearly here, based on this map, that Ramesses is here, Succoth is here. They are firmly still in Egypt. So how do we explain that the scriptures are saying they came out of Egypt? Well, it's very simple. And this is where another example is going to come in. It's going to help you see this. Just say, for example, you are over your friend's house. If you're a man, let's say you have your son or your daughter with you. And if you're a woman, let's say you're over one of your friend's houses and your husband, or you have one of your children with you and your husband comes to pick up one of your children. Or if you're a man, you're visiting a friend and you have your child with you and your wife comes to get the child. Now, say, for example, you're over your friend's house, you're talking to him, he steps out of the room, and then your wife comes in, takes your child, and leaves. Now, once your friend comes back into the room, he might ask you, hey, where's your son? Where's your daughter? You could say, oh, my wife took them home. Well, wait a minute. Your wife could still be in the building. So say, for example, your friend lives on the 10th floor of a high rise. Your wife may not even be to the elevator yet, or she could be on the elevator going down. But when your friend asks you, where is your child? Then you could easily say, well, my wife took them home. But technically, your wife isn't home yet. Your wife is still in the building. See, that's the funny thing about language. You can use certain terminology to explain the point, but it's not a contradiction. Your wife was in the process of taking your child home. But from the perspective of you telling your friend, it's, oh, my wife took my son home. But she's not home yet. Just like when we read here, it came to pass the self-same day that Yahudah did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But they weren't out of the land of Egypt. He was in the process. Just like your wife or your husband could be in the process of taking your child out of the building. I hope you see that. The Most High willing, you will see this example, and you will see that this is a valid example. Same scenario. The Most High was in the process of taking the people out, but they were not out of Egypt yet. Now, let's bring it home. The way that relates to what we're reading over here in Deuteronomy, the 16th chapter, first verse, is that it says that for in the month of Abib, Yahudah, thy Elohim, brought thee forth out of Egypt by night. That was in the process. He started the process by killing the firstborn man and beast of Egypt. But he did that at night. But that's not saying that they all came out at night. He brought them forth out by night. So that's when he initiated the process. Just like, once again, when we go over here, it says that in the self-same day, Yahudah did bring the children out of the land of Egypt. But he actually didn't bring them out of Egypt because, once again, they were still in Egypt. As far as they got was from Ramesses to Succoth. So with all thy getting, get understanding, people. And I hope you noticed that I didn't go to Deuteronomy 16 and say that it was an implant. Even though on the surface it may look like it's contradicting what I'm saying, it's actually not. And I showed you how you deal with the scriptures. You go precept upon precept. I don't have to use the cop-out route and keep talking about, well, this was an implant and Esau did this and that. I don't have to do that. What I do is show you how this all works. And by the grace of the Most High, you would see that. So I hope he's opened your understanding, and that when you come across a scripture like this, it's not a contradiction. It's valid because this was part of the process. The Passover was initiated at night, but that's not saying that it doesn't mean that they all came out at night. Just like over here, when it says that the Most High brought the armies out the same day of Egypt, that doesn't mean that they all came out of Egypt, because we know, if you know your history, they wouldn't come out physically, leave Egypt until another month or so later, because that's when they got to the wilderness. But they were still in Egypt. But this says that they came out the same day. The only way you can understand this is that you have to look at it the way the Most High allowed me to see it, which is showing you clearly how that makes sense. So I hope that helps. And I hope you're not confused when you see something like this. And once again, I didn't have to resort to saying that this is an implant. So let's move to the next point.
Okay, we were rushed out. Okay, according to some people, they want to make it seem like we stayed there all that night. We didn't have time to stay there all that night. We had to eat it in haste.
It was already late at night. You guys don't want to accept that. And once again, at the time that the lamb was killed, we're looking at about 7 o'clock at night right there. And then you got to wait 2-3 more hours for it to be cooked. And then after the people cook it and eat it, it's time to go to bed. So we're looking at 10 o'clock. So how is it so hard for you guys to understand that this was midnight? But we're going to deal with that. But it's just amazing that you guys keep making this a lot more complicated than it really is. Because what you're doing is adding to the scriptures. It's going to be totally proven before the end of this video, if it hasn't been proved already.
We were rushed out. Like y'all, we just spoke about that in the previous chapter, how we were going to be, Pharaoh was going to thrust us out after y'all smote all the firstborn of Egypt. He was going to thrust us out. So people want to say we left out on the 15th day, talking about sunrise. That's impossible. We didn't stay that long. We didn't have that much time.
You did have that much time because it was already late into the night. And again, I go back and look at the video, part 2 of the Passover video that I've dropped. I already explained how that works. Go back and look at it. If you have any questions, come back and leave me comments. But you should see it if you look at that video. I don't have time for this video because there's a lot of other points I want to hit. But I will suggest that you take a look at that and I explain how that works.
You know how much bread can rise overnight? Alright? So much bread can rise overnight. We didn't have time. That's the whole reason for the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Alright, we ate the flesh that night. The Passover didn't last that long.
Remember, people, this was a process. A lot of things were going on at that time. But anyway, let's get to this next point because he's going to deal with the 12 and 10 of Exodus, and he's going to talk about the mourning. And I want you to pay very close attention to something very key here. Because he's, like I said, he's just parroting or regurgitating the same nonsense that his teacher does. And again, this isn't personal against his brother. You know, I don't know what his background is. Maybe he was a Christian before and he came across Yahudah's videos and he was the first Israelite that he was exposed to. I don't know. Or maybe he was raised an Israelite. I don't know. But obviously, he's listening to Yahudah, and that's part of the danger of someone like Yahudah because they're influencing people and they're showing these precepts and they have people confused. And hopefully by the end of this video, Most High willing, some of these things will be cleared up.
We won't break a bone, you know, it will be fully cooked as far as, you know, the whole lamb will be cooked. There will be no pieces broken off. So you got some contrarians that want to say, well, you can't do the Passover because you're not cooking the whole lamb. Well, we know we're not observing it, okay? Is that we would be doing in the land, but we memorializing it. Okay, showing, like I said in the beginning of this session, we're putting forth our commitment to the Most High. Okay? To prove to Him, okay, that our hearts are with Him. And we do that by our actions, not with our words. Okay? So that's why we memorialize the Passover. Okay, like it says in Deuteronomy chapter 30, when you return and obey all this law, okay, and we do it as best we can in captivity. All right, and there shall nothing, you shall let nothing ever remain until the morning. Okay, and that's talking about sunrise.
Oh, wait a minute. So he will accept that it's talking about sunrise here. Okay, so what he just read here, let's go to it. We're in Exodus chapter 12. Okay. So, Exodus chapter 12, verse 10. And ye shall let nothing of it remain until the morning. Right? So, We look at that, we see that's Bokar. Properly dawn. I already went over this before, but I'll do it again. Properly dawn, break of day, generally morning, day, early. Still as it relates to morning, as it relates to a part of the day. But watch what he's just doing the same thing that Yahudah does, and he's going to have to deal with it just like Yahudah did, or what Yahudah failed to do. Because I got a specific question for you regarding that. But watch this.
Okay, it has to be eaten, and you cannot let it remain until the morning. Okay, when the sun rises.
Okay, so he already he's accepting that this means sunrise. Right? He's accepting that. Which that part, that's true. We see that, right? So why isn't he jumping to early for this one? Right? Why doesn't he do it now? But he's going to do it when you go down to the 22nd verse. But it's the same exact word. So how does that work? How do you get to have your cake and eat it too? How do you get to say that it means something one place and it means something totally different in another place? Just like they're doing with Arab. You can't do this. You guys are just creating these proprietary, back alley definitions. It's ridiculous.
Evening, morning. Talks about that in Genesis chapter 1. Evening precedes morning. Alright, so you eat it that night and none can remain until the morning, until, when sun rises. It has to be eaten up.
Okay, so once again, he keeps emphasizing that. Bokar, yes, that means morning, right? No problem.
Okay, it's the same way with the sacrifices. Alright, same thing.
Okay, so we see clearly that he has no problem with it there. But when we look at the 22nd verse, it's the same word. So how is it possible that he's going to say that it's morning, give us the right definition for the 10th verse, but he can't seem to do it for the 22nd verse? How is that possible? That makes absolutely no sense. But this is what they're pushing here.
And you shall let none remain unto the morning, and that which remains of it unto the morning you shall burn with fire. And thus shall you eat it. Alright, talking to Moses, you should eat it with your loins girded, alright, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is Yah's Passover. Eat it in haste. They didn't have time to sit around all night until the morning to leave. Okay, that's why, when it states morning in this chapter, we're going to see it's going to mean early when we left out.
Really? So he said it's going to mean early? Well, that's a contradiction for what Yahudah said, because what Yahudah says is that this early means that that's when they were not supposed to come out. And I want you guys to think about this, because this is the type of chicanery and wickedness that happens when you start adding to the Most High's word. Because as I broke down in part 2 of that Passover video, the word early is relative. That means that you cannot just let it stand alone. You have to give people a definitive time, just like what the Most High did with the word morning or Bokar, because that is a definitive time frame. You could tell somebody, hey, don't leave out your house until the morning, because if you leave before then, you're leaving early. But if you tell somebody, well, don't leave out your house early, you're going to look at them like, what? I mean, compared to what? You got to give me a reference point. You got to give me a basis. You can't just say early relative to what? You have to be, it could be a time, or it could be a time of the day. You could say, well, don't leave your house before noon. Well, okay, that means I have to stay in until noon or after, right? But if you say, don't come out your house early, you're going to say, well, what's early? I mean, well, compared to what? But this is the type of nonsense that they're presenting. They're coming with this garbage. It makes absolutely no sense. Why? Because they're adding to the scriptures. They're looking at a specific word, and they're acting like it's not there. Just like in the beginning, he said he couldn't see the word staring him right in the face, midnight. So this is total nonsense.
Alright. We left out early. Alright. On the 15th day, that night, since substantiate that in Deuteronomy chapter 16, verse 1, which specific was only dealing with Passover. Okay?
Okay, so you see this, right? He keeps saying that they left out early. Now, how could that even be communicated to the people? How could you go to them, Moses say, hey, you guys, don't come out early. Okay, what time is that? And as I mentioned before, as confused as the Israelites was, there's no way possible that those people would have known what Moses was talking about if he just said early. But anyway, that's I mean, that should be a no-brainer for some of you people. But when you start adding to the Most High word, that's what happens. So let's move on to the next point. Now, this next one, he mentions the self-same day coming out. And again, I have to keep referring them back to Numbers 33 and 3.
To y'all throughout your generations, and you, okay, you have to watch out for 11 and 8. So you can't work.
And by the way, that was this is all of this that I'm dealing with now is your fourth point. Now, there's many points within this, but I want you to keep tabs of these specific issues that I'm raising, and I want you to deal with them.
Jobs, really, he ain't supposed to be doing no hard. Passover happened.
Okay, so let's look at this.
For the self-same day, Passover happened. He killed the firstborn of all the Egyptians. Okay, that same day, at the same time, is when the Feast of Unleavened Bread happened. And when he brung
that self same day, as I explained earlier, it's not the self same day with regard to the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread. It's talking about the self same day the Most High brought them out during the Passover. I'm sorry, during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The self same day here, when we look at the 17th verse, is dealing with the Feast of Unleavened Bread. That's the self same day. Not that it's the self same day of the Passover. This is total confusion.
children of Israel out. Okay? At night. I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall you observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. That's 7 days. 15th through the 21st is 7 days. That's
okay, so I want you to keep that in mind. Once again, I got something for you on the fifth point that I'm going to make in terms of some of the key things that I want you to deal with. Now, he's saying here, as we read in the 18th verse, that the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at even. So he's saying that's 7 days. So we're gonna deal with something a little later.
substantiate that the Passover and Feast of Unleavened Bread start at the same time and that they're both on the 15th day of the month. Okay, now you see what we just read. Okay, right here in verse 18. The Feast of Unleavened Bread starts on the first month on the 14th day of the month at even.
Okay, so again, they keep emphasizing that at even. He thinks that okay, automatically that means the 15th day. Okay.
Okay, this is talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread only. Okay, it's not even talking about Passover. This is talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Okay, and on the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. The 14th day of the month at even, Feast of Unleavened Bread. Remember how it reads. Now I'm going to take you over into the book of Yahudah. Now we're going to see when our forefathers observed the Passover.
Now I want you to pay very close attention to this. This is going to be amazing. How he's just going to blatantly, and maybe he just didn't realize what he did here, but I'm going to point this out to him. Hopefully he'll recognize this once he sees this video. But he went to the book of Joshua Yahudah. Okay, I have it here. 5th chapter, okay, 10th verse. So we got that locked and loaded for him. So I want you to watch this.
So I'm going to take you over to Yahudah. I believe it's chapter 10.
Chapter 5.
Chapter 5, excuse me. Chapter 5, verse 10. Alright, chapter 5, verse 10. Okay, now we're going to read what Yahudah did. Okay? Starting at verse 10. Okay? And it says, and the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal and kept the Passover. Okay? On the 14th day of the month at even. It reads the same exact way it reads when you're talking about Feast of Unleavened Bread. We'll let you.
Okay, so this is very interesting here. At even. Once again, people, at ebb. So it started on the 14th day at dusk. So remember, what did I show you over in Deuteronomy 16 chapter? Going down of the sun. These are the same guys that tell you that the going down of the sun still does not constitute the new day yet because it's not dark yet, right? Well, it's telling you here in Joshua, that's when they kept the Passover. So it was at even, at dusk. So it started on the 14th day, people. That's what I've been trying to tell you. But watch what he does, because he's going to just read that. He's going to ignore the 11th and 12th verses. Now, I'm not saying he did it maliciously. I don't know. But I'm going to point out something that's very key in the 11th and 12th verse.
No, it began at the same exact time. The same exact time. Okay? 14th day of the month at even is when they observed the Passover, when they got to Gilgal. And this is in the book of Yahudah, chapter 5, verse 10. And it reads the same way it reads over in Exodus chapter 12, verse 18. Okay? Now for somebody to say that they ain't talking about the 15th day, they're talking about the 14th day, let's go to Leviticus chapter 23 and see what it says.
Okay, so we're going to deal with that in a minute, but I'm going to do what he didn't do, and I'm going to read the 11th and 12th verses. Now when we read these verses, it says, and they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover. So this was the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This was their rendition of it. They used the corn, but they also had unleavened cakes. After the Passover, unleavened cakes and parched corn in the same day. What day was that? That was the same day after the Passover. That's reminiscent of what we read over in Numbers 33 and 3, is it not? But as we can see, this was the Feast of Unleavened Bread. And it was on the morrow after the Passover. And it said in 12, and the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna anymore, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. So, very clear. On the morrow after the Passover, pursuant to Numbers 33 and 3, after the Passover. But in this case, it's telling you specifically what they were doing, which was they were eating unleavened cakes, or they were having the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So I just thought that was pretty interesting that he didn't address that. But anyway, he's going to go now to Leviticus 23 and 5.
Okay, all this is in the book. It's right in front of you. It depends on your heart and whether y'all going to allow you to see it or not. Now we're going to go over to Leviticus 23 to let you know when the Passover Feast of Unleavened Bread begins. Because I heard somebody mention, okay, that it doesn't say anywhere when that Passover begins on the 15th day. And that's not true. It does. Okay?
Well, let's see if it does.
Because like I said before, it reads over in Exodus chapter 12, verse 18, that the Feast of Unleavened Bread begins on the 14th day of the month at even. Now we just read in Yahudah chapter 5, verse 10, where it says they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even, which is the 15th day. And it substantiates this right here. When you go to Leviticus chapter 23, okay, 23 verse, where am I at?
You want verse 5?
Verse 6. Okay. It says, well, verse 5 and 6, on the 14th day of the month at even is Yah's Passover, and on the 15th day of the same month, the feast of unleavened bread. On the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread.
Did you catch what he just did? We just read here where it says, in the 14th day of the month at even is Yahuwah's Passover, and on the 15th day. So that's not the same day, buddy. Those are two distinct days, two distinct time frames, two distinct holy days. Because I don't know how versed you are in the English language, but, and I'm not trying to be condescending, but I want you to realize that this and is a conjunction, a conjunctive term, means that you are adding and something, right? So 14th day of the month at even is the Passover, and on the 15th day, different day of the month, is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So I don't know how he can fix his mouth to say that that is showing you that the that the Passover and the Feast of Unleavened Bread are the same thing, when the scriptures are clearly saying that it's not. On top of that, it's showing you that this is on the 14th at even. And once again, we go to the word even and we get what? Arab. Again, dusk. So even according to their own definitions, this is supposed to be still the 14th because it's dusk. It's not night yet. Because once again, Deuteronomy 16 tells you it's at the going down of the sun. So it's just a total contradiction what he's saying.
7 days you must eat unleavened bread. So people talking about ain't no 50, don't talk about no 15th day nowhere. It does talk about the 15th day. It says it right here.
It says the 15th as it relates to the Feast of Unleavened Bread, buddy. That's what it's saying. I've been saying that. So I don't know who he's specifically talking about, because I've always maintained that the 14th is the Passover and that the 15th is the Feast of Unleavened Bread. So yeah, that's true. But they're not the same. And because they think they're the same, that's the reason why they're confused about this.
Leviticus 23 and 6. Okay, the Feast of Unleavened Bread is on the 15th day.
Yes,
okay?
No one's disagreeing with that. But the Passover is not. Even by your own definition, because it's on the 14th at even, which is dusk.
The same time as Passover, the 15th day.
You're wrong. You're just parroting Yahudah. That's all you're doing.
Okay, that's it. To take you back over this again, Exodus chapter 12, verse 18, Yahushua, chapter 5, verse 10. One place is talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the other place is talking about the Passover, and they both read that they begin on the 14th day of the month at even. And here, in chapter 23, Leviticus, verse 6, it tells you that Feast of Unleavened Bread is on the 15th day, and it reads, okay, in Exodus chapter 12, verse 18, on the 14th day of the month at even. This ain't rocket science.
Sure isn't.
It's simple. It's not hard.
It is very simple when you don't add or diminish the Most High's word. But what you guys are doing, you're making it simple just by virtue of how many scriptures you're cutting out just to see your narrow-minded view, just to put the blinders on. Yeah, it is simple if you look at it that way. If you take the baby and throw it out with the bathwater, then yeah, you could say it's easy to clean it. Because what you're doing is you're taking key scriptures that are contradicting you and you're putting those off. You're throwing them out. And you're not dealing with this straight up.
Feast of Unleavened Bread Passover begin at the same time.
That's just self-evident. I mean, if you can't see how confusing that is and what they're doing, then I don't know what to tell you. But what we're going to deal with right here is very disturbing, because I'm going to show you something that he's going to do. And this shows me that he's definitely a bird of a feather with Yahudah, because this is probably one of the most blatant things I've seen someone do with the scriptures. But I want you to pay attention to this. This is a teachable moment. So I want you to watch this.
Wrong with it. I mean, we get our information from plenty of sources that, even like, the information is valid. It's valid. Alright, but idolatry you can possibly get.
I don't know about that, because self-worship and looking at your own way as opposed to what the scriptures are saying is a form of idolatry. And also taking Yahudah's word over the actual word. So I think you need to reevaluate that.
Okay, and maybe next time I have to be more thorough, when I get my information from certain sources.
Yeah, I actually agree with that, and you need better sources than Yahudah.
Okay, but the information was very informative. Okay, so just check. Yahudah mentioned them on the last session. That just aired on the 9th of April, so you can go in and listen to them. Just play it on the Q&A, and make sure that you have those leaven and edges out of your houses before Passover Feast of Unleavened Bread begins. Okay. Okay, so I left off on verse 21. It says, Then Moses called for all the elders and said unto them, Draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin. And none of you shall go out of the door of your houses until the morning.
Until the morning.
Okay. Until everything was over. So you can't leave out of your houses early.
Wait a minute. What? Did you see what he just did? The scriptures are clearly telling you it's the morning. So wait a minute. Remember, like I pointed out before, he didn't have a problem with the word morning, and it's the exact same word. So how is it now that he's going to sit here, take this word, and change it to early? He's doing the same thing that Yahudah did. This is ridiculous.
Okay, you look up the Strongs, and you go to this place here in the Strongs, it says early.
Yeah, among other things.
Your house early because they could not leave out of their houses while Passover.
This is stupid. Wait a minute. It doesn't just say early. Let's look it up. He said, look it up in the Strongs. I have it right here. It says dawn. It says break of day. It says generally morning, day. Yeah, it says early here, but that's not all. It says morning. Oh, and it also says morrow. But I don't see you emphasizing that. See, this is what's so ridiculous about this. This is frustrating because all he's doing is just parroting what Yahudah's doing. This is stupid. You're going to sit here, look at all these definitions, and then you're going to just focus on early. And I already explained how early does not fit. You cannot use early in this scenario, and it makes sense. It doesn't. So what you're doing is you're taking this word morning, you're throwing it out, and it's clearly in front of you. And to show you how hypocritical this is, you didn't do it in the 10th verse. You didn't do it there, but now you're going to do it? I mean, what sense does this make? This is ridiculous. I mean, this type of stuff right here is the reason why people get cut off. I see. That's the reason people get cut off. This is stupid. And I shouldn't have to be on this computer even trying to point out this type of stuff. You guys should be calling these people on this, man. This is just getting stupid now. This is ridiculous. And for you guys to just look at a word that is clearly in front of you, and you're going to go into the Strong's Concordance, and you're going to pick out the most nebulous term you can and still try to make it stick as if that's what the Most High told the people. Total nonsense, man. You guys ought to be ashamed of yourself. And I blame Yahudah more because he should know better. He's your elder. So, and you should know better too, because you should be more discerning than this, YeremiYAH. You should know doggone well that if you look at this word, that the word is morning, bokar, the same exact word that you had no problem with in the 10th verse. But you're going to sit here, skip over all of this, and then talk about, well, we got to eliminate that. We're just going to focus on early. And that has no practical application whatsoever. It does not work. It doesn't. You run into a dead end with that. You go in there trying to tell the people, hey, the Most High said don't come out early. Okay, well, compared to what? So if you say don't come out at a certain time, I know not to come out before that.
That's the kind of nonsense you got different Israelites try to bring up so that they can have their way. Just like what I just read, For our transgressions are multiplied before thee, and our sins testify against us. For our transgressions are with us, and for our iniquities we know them, in transgressing and lying against Yah, and departing away from our strong ones, speaking oppression and revolt, conceiving and uttering from the heart words of falsehood. See? And while I'm on that note, you understand, those of you who privy to that conversation that's posted on the website, from the recording that David Ben Israel made of the last conversation him and I had, okay, back there, December 25th, 2011, that took him 2 years to finally bring it. He didn't bring it here until December 25th, 2013.
Now, I know you didn't think I was going to let you get away with this mess. Yahudah, you are about to get put in a spiritual body bag. You done messed up. Because I'm going to show that you completely lied. Look, I don't know what kind of 2-bit hustler street game you trying to play, but this don't work on me. The Most High put my life on a different trajectory. I wasn't out there trying to hustle on the street, sell drugs, sell CDs and all that little petty nickel and dime garbage you was doing, but I deal with straight up facts. You're about to get shown to be a complete liar. I don't know if it's because you're senile or because of this past drug abuse or because you're just a pathological liar or a combination of all three, but you're done. I'm going to dissect what you're saying right now, and it's going to be proven beyond any doubt that you are completely wrong. You are a complete liar. Watch this.
That he was already, teaching his class from what, the nonsense he telling them 2 months prior in October, at least in October 2013. And then he, finally brought it over here when he, like I've said in the past, came by here, dropped a note through the mailbox slot December 24th, 2013, that he wanted to, come through and have a sit down. And I told him, and I called him, and told him, we can get together, but you ain't gonna see me if you don't bring me the recording of that conversation, that last conversation that we had, that you were supposed to be bringing me.
Well, hold up, Yahudah. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I brought you the recording. And even later on in this very video that you're talking on, part 2, you even admitted that I ultimately did do what I said. Let's just put on the side for a moment this whole discrepancy that we have with regard to the timing. The bottom line is you got the recording. You got it. So you just mentioned the fact that you said that we were going to meet. And you're trying to hang that over my head like a carrot, like it was such a privilege to meet you or something. Look, man, I was trying to give you the recording back in 2012. You didn't have to come with that garbage talking about, well, I ain't going to meet you until you give me the recording. Like, that's such a big deal. I mean, really? You going to try to make that an incentive when that's the reason why I responded and said, hey, man, well, why are you making that contingent? It ain't that serious. I was going to give you the recording. But it's very interesting that you even admitted that I ultimately did give you the recording. So my word had been fulfilled. I mean, we got situations even all through the scriptures where things were supposed to happen and it might have taken 100 years, but that word was still fulfilled. So it don't matter if it was 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years later, you still got the recording. But I got a question for you. How come you still didn't keep your end of the bargain? How come you still didn't meet? Because you even said this on video. When I came to your house, you were there. How come you weren't man enough to even come down to say, hey, man, I got the recording, but I changed my mind. I don't want to meet, or something like that. That's what a man would do. But you stood in there like a rat hiding in your house, saw me out there. I came out. I rung the bell. I went back to my RV, and you saw me the whole time. So who is the one that's lying, Yahudah? Your whole position is flawed, because you're trying to show that I lied, because I didn't even give you a specific time that I was going to give you the recording to begin with, because I didn't know. I just knew I was going to get you the recording once I prepared the package, and that's what I did. Once I prepared it, and I reached out to you to try to find out if you still wanted it in what format. And you should know, because in the past, it was always gaps between when we would meet, because I was busy. I mean, sometimes we would meet one time, and it would be like 5-6 months later. Because even the time we met in December 2011, the time we met before that was sometime in the summer. So you knew it was these large gaps. So you knew that this was according to how we had always been doing it. So it shouldn't have been no surprise to you that it was going to take me some time before I reached back out to you, because like I said, I was busy, especially during that time, because I was breaking away from that other class and I was working on my materials. So you are a complete fraud, man. You just straight up lying.
And then he claimed, he brought it the very next night again, didn't ring the bell, don't call, just came through, dropped it through the mailbox slot with another note, right? And in that note, you could have had this. All you had to do was call me.
And by the way, it wasn't even the next night. It was the same day. So like I said, you must be senile. But I came back the same day, because once I was over there and I dropped that note telling you that I wanted to meet the next day, which was on the 26th, and you called me immediately, because as soon as I got home, I noticed you had called. And on that message, you talking about, well, you ain't going to meet till I give you the recording. And I'm like, what? So I stopped what I was doing. I was in the middle of something, and I said, let me go get this recording to this guy. And I got you that recording the same day on the 25th. That's when you got it, because I came over on the 26th. So if you think back, you'll remember. So get your facts right. So that's what happened. I got you that recording that same day. And think about it this way. How is it that you can keep talking about, well, you didn't have to call me, but you wind up calling me anyway in 2013? Talking about you didn't have to call. Well, why did you call me in 2013 then? You could have called me in 2012, and then we would have avoided all that. You see how completely contradictory what you're saying is?
I said that in that package I brought by April, you understand, 2012. All you had to do was call me, I'd have brought it. I don't have to call him.
Why did you call me in 2013 then? And remember, the reason why I asked you in that package that I sent you in April 2012 was because I wanted to make sure that you could get the file from off of that CD. Because by your own admission, you are a computer idiot. You don't know how to do things like that. And I knew that. And it was part of the reason that I reached out and tried to get some correspondence from you, was not just because of the courtesy of me sending you the information, but it was because I kind of wanted to work with you to find out what would be the best way that you could get that file off, because the CD, you couldn't just put it in and play it like a regular CD. The file was too big for that. And I know that you did not know how to do that. And that's one of the other reasons why I wanted to get the feedback, not to mention trying to confirm that you still wanted the recording, because the way the conversation ended, you asking me to leave your house and all that. I'm like, well, I'm not sure if you even still want this thing, but I'm going to still do what I said. And I kept my word, and I told you that I was going to bring you that package, and I brought you that. And I thought that you would be courteous enough to reach back out and say, hey, yeah, I would still like that recording. Because after all, you're the same guy that said that some other person and Alicia didn't respond to you when you sent out your unsolicited flyers. I broke that down in round 3 of what I dropped on December 25th, 2015. And you still ain't answered that. How is it that you can be expecting people to call you when you send out an unsolicited flyer, but someone gives you something that you requested, which was my information, and I do that, and on the even if the recording wasn't even involved in this, you should at least been man enough to say, hey man, this brother done put together this package and send it to me. The least I could do is give him a call, say thanks or whatever. You didn't even do that. So you going and coming. You ain't got no excuse for that, because you still have yet to explain why you didn't respond to that information. Because had you responded to that, notwithstanding the recording, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Because like I said, even if we take the recording out, if it was just on general principle, somebody sending you something through the mail, a package, and you never respond to that, especially when you the same guy that's talking about somebody else didn't respond to you in your little flyers that you were sending out that people didn't even ask for.
And what did I say when I talked about this in response to what he put up here a few months back? You understand? Is that was part of the condition, the verbal, you understand, contract that he made in when he brought it to me. You understand, when he pulled the record out.
So Yahudah, you keep talking about a verbal contract. Look, man, you don't even understand how contracts work. I've dealt with contracts. I've worked in banking, financial field. I've had properties all through Chicago. I know how contracts work. If we had a contract, then what was the specific time that you were supposed to get this recording? Huh? You keep coming up with these terms, and it has absolutely nothing to do with this situation. You can't come on this internet talking about I was supposed to get you that recording at a certain time because we never agreed to that, and you know it. I had an intention on getting it to you once I got everything else completed. I never had an issue giving you this recording. I never denied that I was going to give you the recording. So for you to be talking about some type of contract, even if there was a contract, once I made an effort to get it to you and I wanted to confirm and I wanted to make sure that you could extract the file and you didn't respond to that, then you terminated the contract using your own idiotic terminology. But it was no contract.
And I said, oh, you brought your little recorder. He's like, yeah, if it's all right with you, I wanted to record this conversation. And I'm going to make you a CD copy and bring it to you. All right. And I said, okay, I don't care. Right?
So evidently I didn't have a problem giving it to you because I'm the one that even said that I was going to give you the recording. I never denied that. You're a complete clown, man.
So you had already said that. So I look for you to do what you said. But now you come back and innovate.
That's what I did. When I came to your house in April of 2012, that's what I was trying to do. You see how stupid what you're saying is? You were looking for me to do it, but when I reached out to do it, you didn't respond. But you can respond in 2013 to complain about not getting the recording. You see how backwards that is? Talking about you didn't have to call. Well, you didn't have to call in 2013, but you still did, right? You called to complain about not having it. But then when I sent you the information and then asked you specifically about the recording, and you would have got it that same week. But you couldn't do that. You too good to call that time, but you can, to stir up some mess, you can talk about, well, I got to bring it to you before we can meet. You see how backwards and ridiculous that is?
Yeah, that you didn't say that. That I was supposed to call you. All right, now, for those of you who privy to that situation, because here a couple of weeks back, came up and y'all and my mother, we was talking. It's on the Sabbath. And I said to them, because he came up and I said, it's like if you go to that the last 20 minutes of that conversation that David ben Israel and I had, and you listen to it, you can hear how inane and how, silly he's talking, because, you understand, he's evading. He can see it, but he didn't want to acknowledge it.
Yahudah.
And so,
Yahudah, I'm glad you're bringing this up because I have a litany of things on that recording that you were evading and that you were talking silly. You were talking nonsense, and I'm going to prove that. So you done dug yourself in a hole. See, the hole you trying to dig for me, you're going to fall in, as I tell you. Everything you try to put out against me is going to come back on you double. And I'm glad you are referring back to that audio that we did back in 2011, because there's a whole laundry list of stuff that you did wrong. Now, I admit back then there were some things I could have said differently too, but you totally messed up all through that recording, and that's why most of the people that hear it, they're unbiased, say that you lost that debate. And the Most High has advanced my knowledge way beyond then. But we're going to get into some things since you want to bring that up. And I'm going to let you finish your little point about this recording to show how big of a idiot you are with this whole thing.
Brought it up on the internet. She dialed it in and we was listening to it. And I said, just go about the last 20 minutes. So she was playing it, and we was listening to him. Now, it's track 4, an hour and 33 minutes in to track 4. You hear me? Track 4, an hour and 33 minutes into that conversation. I still didn't hear it. My mother didn't, but Yahudah heard it. She said, he said it right there. I said, what? She said, he said right there, he's going to make you the copy that you would hear when he brought you the copy. And I said, play it again. So she went back and played it, and then I heard it. For the first time, I heard it. And if y'all go there, y'all can hear him say, because at one point, when there's only a few minutes left, maybe 10 minutes or so, and I'm telling him, I said, he's charging me with saying something that I hadn't said. And I said, I didn't say that, you said that. I said, play your notes back.
Okay, now number one, Yahudah, you are a complete jackass. I never denied that I was going to give you the recording. This whole point that you're trying to make is a complete straw man argument. This is totally baseless. You're acting as if I was trying to deny that I was going to give you the recording. Remember, I'm the guy that tried to give you the recording in 2012. This was no big secret. This is stupid. What are you talking about? You're trying to, like you didn't discover some type of hidden message. I said that openly on the recording. This was never something that I was trying to hide. And it's funny you want to go into this recording, but you have yet to address what I dropped on March 4th, dealing with the Passover part 1 and 2. You ain't going in there trying to see what I said and try to respond to that. But you can go back to what we said half a decade ago and try to make a point that's not even a point. Yeah, I said that I was going to give you the recording because I said that from Jump Street. I ain't never came out here and said I wasn't going to give you the recording. What are you talking about? The thing that you need to do is show that I said I was going to bring it to you at a certain time and I didn't do it. Then you be doing something. But I bet you can't do that because I never said that. I said I was going to bring it to you, and my intention was to bring it to you once I got the package together, and that's what I tried to do, which you didn't respond to, and that's why you didn't get it. And that's why it took you 2 years to get it, because of your stiff-necked, stubborn, recalcitrant, and honorary self. Because you couldn't be a man and just respond to somebody as a decent human being that sent you a package, and you couldn't even respond to that. That's the reason why. And I still showed I was the bigger man because I responded. I came back a couple years later, which I proved in those letter correspondences how I was reaching out, trying to, still talk to you. So if I was trying to hide something from me, why would I even reach back out to you, Yahudah? You're so wicked, you think everybody else is wicked like you. You just like Nabal in 1 Samuel. How David had to deal with that. And I advise y'all to go read that in 1 Samuel 25, start at verse 1. Read the whole chapter. How Nabal totally disrespected David, and all he was trying to do was reach out to him. And he gonna say, since we just met a few times, we wasn't cool, we weren't friends, and that. And I'm just trying to be cordial with you. And just like David was trying to be cordial with Nabal, David even told Nabal, because he was guarding, his men were guarding his flocks and everything. He said, he sent him a very polite letter telling him, well, I'm your son and this and that. And Nabal took offense to all that, talking about who is David. I don't know this guy. Same way you responded to me. And I see why our ancestor David was about to ride on Nabal with them 400 men. I see why he felt like that. And I'm glad the Most High has given me the discipline that I have. And I'm just going to leave it like that. Because to have somebody sitting up here lying and you reaching out to him like that, all I'm going to say is I know how David felt back then when Nabal did what he did when he was reaching out to him, and he going to send him that garbage. That's why Most High took care of that. And that's like he going to take care of you. But I'm going to prove right now that what you did is completely fraudulent. Number one, this is a fraudulent point because I never denied that. So by you telling people to go listen to the audio and somehow like I was trying to hide what I had said is a complete fraud. I never said that. I never said that I wasn't going to give you the recording. I'm the one that said I was going to give you the recording. I'm the one that initiated the recording. I'm the one that tried to bring you the recording in April 2012. So that's a completely invalid point. But since you want to refer back to that recording, I'm going to hit you with a point that is valid. Now, you notice, everybody, that he wants to get you to go listen to that recording and try to show where I said that he said something and he said he didn't say that. Well, let me show you what actually happened. What you guys can do is go to the second video that I dropped, or the audio, dealing with the Windows Sabbath start. If you go back, it's the one I dropped in 2015. It's part 2. And it talks about the where I'm talking to my class and we're playing back the recording. This whole point that I was making regarding what he was saying, which is he asked me a question. He forgot that he asked me the question. And that's when I told him that you're going to see it, or you're going to hear it when you get this recording. But let me show you what the point was. If you go to, like I said, video 2, dealing with the Windows Sabbath start, at 1 hour, 23 minutes, 42 seconds to 1 hour, 23 minutes, 32 seconds, he's going to ask me if the people were only eating bread without the flesh. He asked me that. And then at 1 hour, 42 minutes and 37 seconds to 1 hour, 43 minutes and 5 seconds, he denies it. And when he denied it, that's when I told him, I said, well, you're going to hear it when I give you this recording. Now, I asked him the same question he asked me too. So that's why he says, well, I didn't ask you that. You asked me that. Now, I did ask him that, but he asked me that first. I basically just reversed it on him. But once again, the second video dealing with when does the Sabbath start, the second video is at 1 hour, 23 minutes, 24 seconds to 1 hour, 23 minutes, 32 seconds. You're going to hear him clearly ask me if the people were only eating bread without the flesh. And I said, yeah. And then at 1 hour, 42 minutes, 37 seconds to 1 hour, 43 minutes, 5 seconds, he going to deny that he even asked me that because he forgot. Here's another point. On the first audio, when does the Sabbath day start? The 4 hour one, like it says, about 4 hours, 16 minutes. At 2 hours and 57 seconds and 7 minutes to 2 hours, 57 seconds, 57 minutes, 45 seconds, he is basically saying that because I asked him if he was keeping the Passover, and he said, yeah. And to substantiate it, he tried to say that you're supposed to do it in all your dwellings. And I asked him to show me that. And after a while, he looked for it. He couldn't find it. And then this clown is going to sit there and try to change the topic, like he was talking about the 7-day Sabbath, which we weren't even talking about it. And you can see that at 2 hours, 59 minutes, 55 seconds to 3 hours, 1 minute, 1 second. See, Yahudah, you dealing with the wrong one, man. You done sit there and you open up a can of worms now like you always do. I'm the wrong one for you to be trying to pull this with. I ain't one of your little 2-bit street hustlers, friends or something. I deal with facts. So since you want to deal with what was said in that recording, you go listen to that and see how disingenuous you are with this whole thing. Oh, and another part, he tells a bold-faced lie, 3 hours and 10 minutes to 3 hours and 11 minutes. He just he switches the subjects up. And then he has the unmitigated gall at about 3 hours and 25 minutes, 40 seconds to 3 hours, 27 minutes, 18 seconds. He projects it on me, talking about I'm twisting stuff because I called him on his mess. Because he sat there and because he got caught up, he couldn't prove that you're supposed to keep the Passover in all your dwellings. So he tried to switch it, talking about where I was talking about he was talking about the 7-day Sabbath, which we weren't even on that subject. And even my class was amazed, and they started laughing at him because how blatantly he lied. Because like I said, either he's a pathological liar or he's senile or both. But you go back and listen to that audio, and then you will see that he's the one that was telling that lie. So he's a complete clown. Like I said, I compared him to Nabal in the scriptures, and just like Nabal, he's an SOB, and that's the son of Belial, just like how they refer to Nabal, and that's what he is, and I've just proved it. Now, Yahudah, you come back on this internet and you deny this, and go look at those references that I said, and then you'll see an actual person lying, not me. So this little snippet that you want to try to say that you got me on something I didn't even deny, you turn around, as I said, you trying to dig a hole, you try to dig a 6-foot hole for me, but you fall in an 18-foot one. Because when people go back and listen to these references that I just gave, they're going to see that you are a complete liar. So I'm going to get back to dealing with your student, because it's your fault that I'm out here going to put a chastisement on him because you done taught him wrong. But I definitely had to take a minute or two to get on you, because you're the one that's doing all this. And let's leave with this scripture real quick.
Say that, you say it.
To show you that the Most High going to deal with you, a false witness shall not be unpunished. You are a false witness, and he that speaketh lies shall not escape. So you ain't going to escape, Yahudah.
He was like, no, I didn't say. I said, play your notes back. Go back and play it, man. I said, you can hear yourself say it. I didn't say that. You said it.
Once again, people, he did say it. Now, I asked him that too. See, that's the only part he remembered. He didn't remember when he asked me that. But once again, and I'm probably going to put it in the captions too, video 2, dealing with when does the Sabbath day start, at 1 minute, 23 seconds, I'm sorry, 1 hour, 23 minutes, 24 seconds to 1 hour, 23 minutes to 32 seconds, he asked me that question. And when I repeated it at 1 minute, at 1 hour, 42 minutes, 37 seconds to 1 hour, 43 minutes, 5 seconds in, he denied it because he forgot. But he did ask me that. So that's the reason why I even said, well, when you get the recording, you're going to hear it. There you go, people.
And then he responds, he says, no, you'll hear it when I bring you the copy.
Exactly. And that's the point. I'd have had no problem giving you the copy. But you're so twisted, you can't even see that you're making my point. I never denied I was going to give you the copy, Yahudah. If anything, that shows I didn't have a problem giving you the copy. So your whole premise is garbage.
Which underscores and substantiates, that's what he said to me from the get-go. That you didn't hear, he hadn't turned the recorder on yet. But he substantiated it right then. Track 4, an hour, 33 minutes in.
This guy is so deluded. He thinks he's actually making a point. He actually thinks he's making a valid point. Your point is totally invalid. The only way your point would be valid is if you saw me saying, hey man, I'm going to bring you this recording tomorrow. I'm going to bring it to you next week. And then I denied that and they said, well, I didn't have no certain time to bring it to you. Then you could come out and say, well, no, he said it right here. Then you got me. But you ain't saying nothing. I never denied that, Yahudah. I'm the one that said I was going to bring it to you to begin with. When did I ever deny that? I maintained that I was going to give it to you when I said I was going to give it to you. And that's what's been substantiated. So you want to do something, you come out here and show where I said I was going to bring it to you at a certain time and I didn't do it. Because even when I tried to bring it to you, you didn't respond.
Now, Yahudah, she put what they call it? Y'all know I'm not deep in that stuff.
See, you're a computer idiot. That's the reason why I was trying to check with you before I made the copy. You don't know how to deal with this technical stuff, so you need to stop. That's the reason why. I was trying to ask you, Yahudah. I was trying to help you once again. But when you're dealing with a wicked, low-down snake like you, a total jackass who you can't even talk to, just like Nabal, Like one of his servants said, he's such a son of Belial, you can't even talk to him. Just like when people listen to that recording, how you was trying to overtalk me then. That's why you didn't know what was going on, because you're so busy running your mouth. And now you twisted and thinking you making a point, and it's not. You just said it right there. You don't understand this stuff, and you don't. That's part of the reason. And if you ever knew how to make a CD or something, you know what I'm talking about. But because you don't, you think somebody tried to do something shady, because that's the only way you know how to measure things, because you didn't spend your life being a 2-bit shady hustler or whatever you used to do. That's how your mind works. And I'm telling you, don't bring that to me, because I'm not that type of guy.
She cited it on the website. You know what I mean? She put something, I forget the technical term.
You must be talking about a caption.
Okay, but she cited it on the website. So y'all go to YeremiYAH.chicago.net and you'll hear him say that, to let you know that, you understand, what I said was the truth about that situation.
What you said was obvious. This isn't. You're not revealing any secret thing, Yahudah. Once again, you're acting as if I was trying to suppress that. I've been the one saying I tried to give it to you. All that does is substantiates my point. I was trying to give it to you. I said I was going to give it to you, just like that material. And I came to give it to you, and you didn't respond. So if you want to do something, you explain why you didn't respond. Don't come with some garbage like this.
Yeah. I wanted to cover that since we, see what I'm saying? Tell you, boy, Yah's great.
He sure is, and he's exposing you.
You follow me? He's great. Okay? And again, you understand where I leave off? Verse 14, then shall you delight thyself. No, I done passed that. I'm down here in 59, right?
A complete clown, man.
Right. And what is chapter 59, Yeshaya, was that, I'll just pick it up at verse 13, right? And transgress and lying against Yah, departing away from our strong, speaking oppression and revolt, conceiving and uttering from the heart words of falsehood. The judgment is turned away backward, and justice stands afar off.
But you're going to get judgment. Like I just showed here. Dealing with people who are speaking lies. Proverbs chapter 19. A false witness is mentioned twice. Verse 5 and verse 9. I'm going to read both. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall not escape. You're not going to escape from this, Yahudah. Verse 9. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall perish. So, like I said, you're done. Now let me get back to chastising your student and trying to undo some of the damage you caused with that young man, like all the other people that's listening to you. Total nonsense. But this is the type of stuff they're doing. And again, I'm telling you, this is why the Most High is furious, because he see what you guys are doing to his word. He see what you guys are doing. And I'm getting frustrated just looking at this garbage. But I got to address it, because I know that there's people out there who are in that remnant and they need to know the truth. That's the reason why I'm doing this. But this next one is even worse. This next one is what I mentioned in terms of one of the worst examples of someone literally adding to the word of the Most High. If this isn't the definition of adding to the word, I have no idea what it is. But I want you to watch this.
No reason for them to strike the blood on the.
Let me skip ahead a little bit. This is going to be just absolutely no excuse for this. This is going to be the hand in the cookie jar, total, like the Most High says in YeremiYAH, 23rd chapter, how people steal his words. This is nothing short of that. And I want you guys to look at this.
I lost my spot. Okay, I'm in verse 25. And it shall come to pass, when you be coming to the land which Yah will give you according to as he has promised, you shall keep this service. Okay? And y'all told him now, you know, in the land you want to keep this service. Because we were supposed to go to the land, and if we had been doing what we were told to do, we would never have been kicked out of the land. So of course it was for the land, you know, after this took place. But that everything before Yah, he knew we were supposed to memorialize this forever. No matter where we are, we're supposed to memorialize it. Alright? It says, and it shall come to pass when your children shall say to you, what you mean you by this service, then you shall say, it is the sacrifice of Yah's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed their head and worshipped. And the children of Israel went away and did as Yah had commanded Moses and Aaron. So
watch this.
And it came to pass that night at even, not midnight, but at even, Yah smote all the firstborn in the land.
Wait a minute. Did you see what he just did? Did you see what he just did? He said that this was at night even. That's not even there. The word is midnight. Even if we go into the Strongs, the word is katseh or chetse, the half or middle, mid, two-part, midst. But if you didn't catch that, I'm going to play it back. Look what he did.
Sacrifice of Yah's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt when he smote the Egyptians and delivered our houses. And the people bowed their head and worshipped. And the children of Israel went away and did as Yah had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they.
Okay.
And it came to pass
at midnight.
At even, not midnight, but at even, Yah smote.
That is insanity. He literally read over what was in the scriptures. This said clearly midnight. I got to do that one more time, because I don't think y'all understand the magnitude of the criminality of what you just saw here.
The Egyptians and delivered our houses, and the people bowed their head and worshipped. And the children of Israel went away and did as Yah had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass that night at even, not midnight, but at even, Yah smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt from the firstborn of Pharaoh.
Wow. So listen, people, when you are blatantly going over a scripture like this, which clearly is when you are implanting a whole new word, then there is absolutely nothing else to say. This is, you lost. That's the end of the debate. This is not a debate. This is a teachable moment. This is an outreach. Because if you are that recalcitrant, if you are that stubborn, if you are that wicked, that you would take a word that is clearly in front of you and you are just going to literally add to the Most High's word like this, then listen, man, there's no helping. You can't do stuff like this. In case you didn't know, let's grab this again, because once again, people, they claim they know these scriptures, but they violate them every day. Let's go to Deuteronomy 4:2. We got to get a refresher course on this after that one. Ye shall not add. What does add mean? It means to put something that was not there. Something that this young man just blatantly did. You shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish. It looks like he did both of those at the same time. He added the word even there wasn't there. The word there is midnight. And he took the word midnight out. He did both of those at the same time. You shall not add unto the word which I command you, neither shall you diminish aught from it. Aught. What does aught mean? Anything. Look, you have picked up some of the worst habits possible listening to Yahudah. And again, I don't know you. I don't know your background. But from what I can tell, you're the type of person that Yahudah loves to interact with, because you are doing the same thing he does. You have no compunction. You have no remorse for taking words in the Most High scriptures and just totally discarding them. Totally disrespecting them. You have no problem with that, because that's blatantly what you did. There's no way around it. And I'm not being funny. I'm not being overly critical. That is literally what you did just then. And the Most High said, you shall not diminish aught from it, that you may keep the commandments of Yahudah, your Elohim, which I command you. So that is what you're doing. And that's the reason why you guys are off on so many things, because you're doing something blatantly like that. When have you guys seen me do something like this? I don't ever take a word and overlook it like that. Before I do that, I will change my belief system. I would never take a word that's going against what because obviously I'd be wrong. If the scriptures are that openly and blatantly going against something that I believe what it is, then obviously I would accept that as I'm wrong. But instead of that, these guys say that the scriptures are wrong. It's like the tail wagging the dog. Total nonsense.
That sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh wrote, he's going to say he rose up, but that's not the case.
Are you kidding me? Now he's doing it again. It was bad enough that he just did what you just saw, but then he's going to take out another word and tell us not to believe our lying eyes. And when the scripture says Pharaoh rose up in the night, he's telling us, no, that ain't what that says. Are you kidding, man? I mean, how can you sleep at night doing this type of stuff to the Most High scriptures? And you guys think that you going somewhere with this garbage, and you wonder why you guys are going to be sitting on your butts where you're at. You're going to be sitting on that couch where you're at, and Yahuda's going to be sitting where he's at the end of this year, because you guys are sitting here literally adding and diminishing the Most High's word. That's what you're doing. And you think he's going to bless some type of movement that you guys have, and you're doing this? You are committing violence against his law. This is the most reckless garbage I've ever seen somebody do to the Most High scripture. Aside from that fool I broke away from, which he didn't want to keep any of the laws, but this is just another side of that coin. You guys are just adding stuff. Totally. I mean, there's no way around this. This is ridiculous. But I'm going to start winding this video down, because I think this is beyond any reasonable doubt about what's going on here. And earlier in this video, I mentioned the fact that I wanted you guys to keep in mind what these guys were doing in terms of saying that the 14th day at even equals the 15th day. So, as my going away present, this is what I'm going to do for you. I was saving this for Yahudah because I was hoping that he would at some point deal with the specific points that I was making, and that somehow he would present more of a challenge that he did. So I was saving this knockout blow for that. But since YeremiYAH, you wanted to step up and kind of take the mantle, and you want to carry this torch, and maybe you will be a little bit more of a man than your unscrupulous degenerate teacher is, I'm going to give you a little present. I'm in a giving mood. So I tell you what, since you guys have constantly beat this dead horse in terms of trying to convince people that the 14th day at even is the equivalent of the 15th day, even though I say that it's the 14th day. And I've taught that and I've stood by that for years. And Yahudah and I have had an issue. We have been at odds against that for years. Okay? I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to accept that. That's right. You heard me. I'm going to accept that 14 at even equals the 15th day. I'm going to give you a gift. Okay? So, after all this hard fought, this battle, you managed to convince me. Now, of course, I'm just being hypothetical here, but you're going to get the point. But let's just say I give you this point. Let's go back to the 18th verse, shall we? So, if I concede that the 14th day at even is the equivalent to the 15th day, then just like any good chess game, I'm giving you a piece. Let's say I'm giving you my rook. But you have to realize that if I give you something, I want something in return, right? But let's say we're walking hand in hand with this whole concept, this whole notion that the 14th day at even, we read it right here in verse 18 of Exodus 12, and it says, in the first day of the in the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, and you saw how many times he emphasized that, he claims that this is the 15th day. Okay, let's put on the shelf the fact that I think that this is still the 14th. Let's just say I accept that this is the 15th day. Now, there's a huge problem. Because once I concede that to you, guess what? Once we read that, and I have to accept that the 14th day of the month at even is the 15th day, then as I keep reading, it says, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 120th day of the month at even. So wait a minute. Wait 1 minute. How is it that the 14th day of the month at even can be the 15th day, but the 21st day of the month at even is not the 22nd day? Let me say that again. How is it possible that the 14th day of the month at even, because remember, I'm gonna concede that, right? I'm giving you that, right? But if I give you that, then I'm gonna have to turn around and say, wait a minute, brother. If we're gonna use that as a standard, then the 14th day of the month at even being the 15th, then the 20th day of the month at even is the 22nd. Because once again, people, this word even is a reb. So that's according to them, that's the 15th day. But when we look right here on the 21st at even, it's still a reb. Same exact word. So if the trigger, as Yahudah said, is the even, which changes the 14th to the 15th, then that same trigger has to be at play when it comes to the 21st. There you go. There's no way out of this. There's no way out, buddy. This is like a Roach Motel. You can check in, but you can't check out. You can't have it both ways. You can't come back now. I gave you that, remember? Okay, 15, 14 at even 15, right? Okay, 21st at even, that's the 22nd. There's no way out of that. Because if now you say, no, it ain't the 22nd, it's the 21st. I'm going to have to look at you and say, well, wait a minute, brother. Then if the 21st at even is still the 21st, then why can't the 14th at even still be the 14th? So now you're like a dog chasing his tail now. You see how the Most High gets you? I didn't have to do nothing. All I did was point this out. His word defends itself. He got y'all going and coming. So when you start trying to add to his word, he deals with you. It's like they say about the sculptor. All they do, the sculpture was already there. All he did was just chip away the pieces. That's all I did. The Most High already had this embedded in his word. For people like y'all to come here and start messing around with it, he got you going and coming. So even if someone concedes that the 15th, with the 14th at even is the 15th, that still leaves you, you can go in that house, but you can't get out. You locked in, because now you got to say that the 21st at even is the 22nd, and that still ends up with 8 days. Because if you count from the 15th to the 22nd, that's 8 days. 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And once again, if you say that no, the 21st at even is still the 21st, then how come the 14th at even ain't the 14th? You guys lost. You're done. You guys are doing the equivalent of something that a child understands. You guys are trying to take 10 marbles. You're trying to put 10 marbles in a bottle and trying to get 11 out. You can't do that. You can't have it both ways. You can't say on the one hand that the 14th of the day of the month at even is the 15th, but then you want to turn around and say that the 21st of the month at even is the 21st. No, you don't get to do that. I ain't letting you do that, because I already gave you that. I gave it to you. I said, okay, the 14th of the month at even is the 15th. I gave you that, but I can't give you the other one. So you choose how you want it. You want the 14th of the month at even to be the 15th? Or do you want the 21st of the month at even to be the 22nd? How are you going to do it? You're trying to put 10 marbles in a bottle and you're trying to take out 11 marbles. You're trying to squeeze the balloon on one end without it inflating on the other end. It ain't going to happen. Your balloon done popped. You're done. So, I want you to answer that, YeremiYAH. Come back on this YouTube and explain to me, how is it possible, even if I concede you the point that the 14th day at even is the 15th day, which you kept saying, even if I give you that, how do we deal with the situation regarding the 21st day at even? How is that not the 22nd? So, there you go. Open invitation. Deal with these key points. Don't start going off on tangents like your so-called leader does, because hopefully you've not been corrupted to the point where you cannot deal with specific points. Because I don't know what it is with Yahudah. Maybe it's senility kicking in. Maybe it's all those years of drug abuse. I don't know what it is, but he cannot deal. He's incapable and unwilling to deal with specific points. But these points that I laid out for you, I want you to deal with them. So come back and do that. So I hope you guys got something out of this video. And for the Heavenly Father, Yahudah, I'd like to thank and praise him for giving me the opportunity to present this lesson. And I definitely look forward to his response to answer these specific questions. If you have any questions for me, leave your comments below. Once again, all praises to the Most High Heavenly Father, Yahudah. Thank you, and shalom. Oh yeah, and one more thing. Throughout this video, YeremiYAH kept looking into the camera as if he's so irritated that people can't understand what he's saying, as if people don't see what Yahudah and him is saying because they're like too stupid to get it, or that they're so frustrated that they have to keep explaining themselves. Well, let me tell you something. The reason why you have to keep explaining yourself is because people that are viewing these videos, they're not stupid. They're coming to my page and they're looking at these specific questions that I'm raising, and they see that you guys are not answering these questions. And that's the reason why you find yourself constantly having to restate your position when it comes to the Passover. Because I got to tell you something. I know for a fact that some of the people that are watching these videos are very dedicated. Because the people that broke away from the class with me, they're viewing these videos, and I know they're dedicated and they're not stupid. And I'm sure there's other people that I don't even know that are viewing these videos that they are very intelligent and they are looking at these specific questions that are not being answered. And I would even go so far as to say that some of these people are actually in that remnant that the Most High is talking about, because when it comes to these videos and the subject matter, is a certain type of person that's going to look at these videos. And we can't expect that a lot of people are going to be viewing these videos. I know with me, there's maybe 50 to 100 or so people that are viewing these videos, which is that remnant. And we expect that. And this is a very elite, small group of people. And don't insult their intelligence by looking into the camera as if these people are slow and like they don't get it. No, the problem is that you guys are not dealing with these specific questions. And just like in this video that I just presented, I want you to deal with these specific questions. So just like your teacher, you are showing signs of being arrogant. And when we look into the scriptures, get this real quick, in Proverbs 6 and 16, the Most High says, well, this is Solomon. He says, these 6 things doeth Yahudah hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look. What you were doing was given a very proud look, as I'll show right now. So y'all saw that, right? So YeremiYAH, don't do that. You know, you can get your point across without taking them long pauses and looking into the camera like everybody else is stupid except you and Yahudah. And as I showed, you guys are the ones that's actually wrong. And for you guys to sit there and act like you're so indignant because you have to constantly restate your position on the Passover, that just goes to show that you are unconvincing. And that people are looking for certain things and you're not dealing with it. And I guarantee you, you're not going to deal specifically with the points that I raised in this presentation. Because to do that, it's going to deconstruct your entire position. Because some of these questions that I'm asking you, if you answer them honestly, then you're going to see the errors of what your teacher has been teaching you. So again, I just want to point that out. The Most High hates a proud look. He also hates a false witness. That's in there too, right in verse 19. A false witness that speaketh lies, which definitely covers your teacher. And as I showed earlier in this video, he totally is lying, and I showed proof of that. So I just wanted to once again show how you guys are in error. You're committing offenses against the Most High's word left and right, and you're going to be held accountable for this. So, with that, once again, all praise is due to the Most High, Heavenly Father Yahuwah. And I thank you guys for taking the time to view this video. And unlike YeremiYAH and Yahudah, I'm not going to insult your intelligence by presenting half-baked information. I'm going to ask specific questions, and if I'm presented with questions, I'm going to answer them specifically. We're too late in the game to be playing these games where we just kind of duck and dodge specific questions. And yeah, YeremiYAH, that's the reason why you guys have to constantly come back out here and keep explaining yourself. So instead of you looking in the camera getting all indignant about that, why don't you guys do a better job of defending your position and answering these specific questions? And then you don't have to worry about being frustrated that people don't see it your way. So with that, all praise is due to the Most High, Heavenly Father Yahuwah. Thank you once again. Peace. Shalom.